What is going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Fantasy Alarm, Bettor Sports Network YouTubes on a Wednesday afternoon. Should be a fun show today. It's been awesome having everyone tune in to these shows as I'm rolling solo, but I'm bringing in guests left and right because I need the experts from Fantasy Alarm and the betting industry to help me out with some of these sports. And today we're going to be talking NFL Divisional Playoffs, bets, picks with Britt, Flinn in just a couple of minutes here. And then we're going to bring on Justin Fensterman, our old pal. He's at Fantasy Guru now, but still glued into the NBA. And I'm going to bring him on to give out some NBA bets for Wednesday's loaded slate. Real quick, if you're looking to bet on NBA, NHL, I just got a few quick notes. Maybe you've seen this, but maybe you haven't. Tonight's Warriors Jazz game has been postponed due to the assistant coach with a health reason. So if you're looking for bets on that game, obviously tonight that game is not being played. And then the hockey world, Blackhawks Sabres has been postponed due to weather. We've seen this, yesterday. I know the Tennessee Florida game got moved up because of weather. Obviously, the Bills game got moved back a day to weather. So we got snow across the country, affecting things, and that's the case today with the Sabres game, Blackhawks Sabres. So that's for tonight's NHL slate. So smaller NHL slate if you're looking for bets. Not going to be talking hockey on today's show, but do some basketball a little bit later with Fensty. Let's bring in Britt Flinn right now, though. Let's start with some NFL because, Britt, your Cowboys and my Eagles, we're both out of it. So we don't have to talk anything about these disappointing teams, okay? We can focus on the teams that actually matter. Thanks, producer Adam Bernard with the clutch sound effects. But, Britt, how you doing? I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, I'm great. Like you mentioned, the snow is basically across every single state in the entire continental U.S. The people saying, well, if you don't like it, just move. Where are we going to move to? Like California and Florida? Because that's about where there's not any snow. That's the only place.
Yeah.
Schools here is still canceled. It's cold, but that gives me more time to like huddle up in my office and look at all these bets and these picks. So I'm having a great time.
Yeah, awesome. Because I know Monday you're usually hosting the Brits Blitz show, and I know that had to be canceled because your power went out with the snow and the winter storm. So, but usually Mondays, moving forward on this channel here, YouTube, on Fantasy Alarm, Bettor Sports Network, you can see Britt on the Brits Blitz show as she's been all season long for the NFL. And she's got some sleeper picks articles, coming out this weekend with some player props over on Sleeper for this NFL divisional round. Let's jump into these games. The first one here, Texans on the road at Baltimore. The Houston Texans pulling off the home upset over the Browns. They are 9-point favorites, 9.5-point favorites on the road here in Baltimore. But you like the underdogs again this week.
I do. I don't necessarily want to take the money line, but I think that +9 at -115 is just a little bit enticing to me. I know that the Ravens are very good. I know that the Texans are going on the road, but what they showed against the Browns defense, I think that they can hang in with the Ravens. The over-under on this game is also pretty low for a spread that big at only 43.5. So either you're taking the over and thinking that the Ravens are just going to steamroll the Texans, or you're going to take the Texans with the points. And I'm really not ready to count out CJ Stroud just yet. Obviously, losing Noah Brown hurts. He got placed on IR, but they lost him very early in that Browns game, and it really didn't affect Stroud. If you look at Lamar Jackson's total playoff performance as well, he has a touchdown to interception ratio in the first quarter of all of his playoff games of 0-2. And that is all of his playoff games. So they tend to get behind. They tend to come out to a slow start. I really do think that the Texans hang around and keep this game close. So I'm smashing that +9.5 going in here. And I think maybe even the money line can win. I'm just not that bold. I'm not that bold to go there, but I would not be surprised to see it happen.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Texans here. And I wouldn't be shocked either. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know the one seeds over the past like decade or 20 years, one seeds in the divisional round after they had this bye, their against the spread record is not great. And it's part of like having maybe the bye week, but also with the wild card team coming in with just some momentum, having that confidence, especially the Texans who just pulled off this this upset. This Texans team, you and I are glued into college football. We saw CJ Stroud at Ohio State. He was a good prospect coming out. I did not think he would have this much success right away in his rookie year. It's been awesome to see.
And it goes back to coaching. Like D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick have really created, I don't want to say the culture, but that's really what it is. Like D'Amico Ryans is a player's coach. They got lucky that the Panthers took Bryce Young instead of CJ Stroud. And it's tended to work out tremendously great for them. The S2 test be damned, because that was the whole talk, right? During the offseason and combine and the draft process was that, well, he didn't do very well on this S2 test and blah, 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 blah. No, that test be damned. CJ Stroud is very good at what he does. And going back to the Ravens, it goes back to that rest or rust philosophy. Like they rested Lamar Jackson in week 18.
Yeah.
It's basically going to be 2 weeks that they've had off. Are they going to come back with that same force that they had closing out the season? And I don't necessarily think that they're going to.
Yeah, and I'm with you about if the Texans start fast in this game in that first quarter, as you were laying out. I mean, look at that money line now before it gets shorter. It may be live in game. All right, Packers 49ers. Packers, another team coming off that crazy win against your Cowboys. I'm sorry we got to talk about the Packers again here, but got to give Jordan Love and that offense especially a lot of credit for what they did on the road there to win outright as like 7-point underdogs. But here they're 9.5-point underdogs. 50.5 is the over under. And I know you got a couple props in this one because this total at 50.5, I'm looking at the over in this game because I think this one could be a lot of offense on both sides of the ball. But you're looking at a couple 49ers picks here.
Yeah, this one is super juicy. And I wanted to look at some of the ones for the Packers. But the way that they spread the ball around in the passing game, I just didn't really feel comfortable with any of those props being a lock. Because last week, I thought that Jaden Reed was a lock, working out of the slot, going against Jordan Lewis. And he had 3 targets and just acted as a decoy. So I am
0
going
catches.
the one and done playoffs that I had Jaden Reed in are just in free fall. But that's fine. So I'm looking at 49ers for my props for this game. The first one being Deebo Samuel with an anytime touchdown at plus 100 odds. Now, he scored 7 receiving touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns in the 15 games that he's played this year, but 10 of those have come in the last 9 games since he came back from that injury midseason. He's so versatile on all sides of the ball. You can't really plan on how to stop him. Like, he's going to do what he's going to do. Oh, you want to shut down Christian McCaffrey? Sure, we'll just run Deebo. Oh, you want to shut down Deebo? Well, we'll just run Christian McCaffrey and maybe, use some play action and do some things there. So it really throws off defenses. And I think that they've got it dialed down to a T at this point in the year. And at plus money, I love taking a chance on this.
Yeah. He's a guy that, just going back through the years, that they like to use him more as the runner in the playoffs. Like, maybe they show some of it obviously during the regular season, but I feel like once it starts mattering more, they're looking to get the ball in McCaffrey. It's gonna be a lot of McCaffrey, him, and Kittle. But I think Kittle is probably the third option of these guys. Even Brandon Ayuk, I think maybe takes a little bit of a back seat, and especially down in the red zone, it's gonna be get the ball at McCaffrey or Deebo's hands, in my opinion. So yeah, I love this, and you get it at plus 100 odds too.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Christian McCaffrey minus 325 or whatever it is for the anytime touchdown, and that's why I'm rolling with Deebo. But that said, I'm still not ruling out Christian McCaffrey. I still want a little action on what he's got to offer, and that brings me to my next pick of over 88.5 rushing yards at minus 115. Now, it's CMC. And I know that we're going chalk here, but 115, I really love this. He's averaging 91.5 rushing yards per game this season. He's hit this mark 9 out of 16 games. And Green Bay's run defense has given up the 11th most rushing yards per game. And that's just to some kind of run-of-the-mill backs. Christian McCaffrey is not your ordinary run-of-the-mill running back. So I'm taking this chalk. I really think that the 49ers take this handedly, especially with the spread that we've been given right now. And so that's going to lend itself to Christian McCaffrey running the ball a little bit more. I know people early on in the season were worried about him splitting with Elijah Mitchell and possibly even Jordan Mason because of Shanahan's coach speak. But he went in, played 100% of the snaps. After Shanahan said, maybe we shouldn't do that, next game, he played 100% of the snaps and the carries. So I don't think that we can rely on that coach speak in a playoff situation. It's going to be McCaffrey all day long here.
Yeah, and as you said, the spread here with the Niners, almost 10-point favorites now at home. If they're playing with the lead, it's going to be a lot of McCaffrey in the second half with them just bleeding the clock, with that strong O-line. So, yeah, I can get behind this one for sure. Plus 115 odds too there. All right, next one here, we're going to Sunday's games now. Bucks at Lions. Lions are 6.5-point favorites here. 48.5 is the over-under. This is an interesting spread, an interesting game because the Lions, just honestly barely survived against the Rams. The Rams get a touchdown or two when they were kicking field goals. Then we're talking about a different matchup here, but we get the Bucks on the road against the Lions, and you like a pick for Detroit in this one.
I do. I will say though that I think that the Bucks are being a little bit disrespected in this spread because the Lions have given up so much yardage in the passing game. You can't really run against them. They are still pretty stout against the run, but with all the injuries in their secondary, I think maybe the Bucks could come away with this one. I'm not going to say that yet. I am on Team Lions now that my Cowboys have been eliminated. Go Frank Ragnow and Dan Skipper, Arkansas boys, on that O-line and in the trenches. But I am going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions over 90.5 receiving yards at minus 115. Now, this number does seem pretty lofty. I don't typically like picking numbers over 80 when it comes to receiving yards, but he's in a really great spot to do it against the Buccaneers. He's hit this in 4 out of his last 5 games, and even in the game that he didn't hit it, he was off by a half a yard. Like, this guy is still very good. The Buccaneers have allowed 178.6 receiving yards to the wide receiver position, and with Sam Laporta still banged up, I'm not really sure that he actually comes back out there and reassumes that role. I think he does kind of stick in that decoy role that we saw him in against the Rams. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown also gets a matchup against, and I apologize if I pronounce his last name wrong, but Christian Izien, an undrafted rookie free agent out of Rutgers this year. We're not talking trash. We know that undrafted rookies can do great things. We've seen it happen, but he's got such a tough matchup against Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I really don't think that he can keep up with the Sun God playing out of the slot. I think he played 30 snaps out of the slot in Monday night's game, so he is their de facto slot corner at this point in time, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's just going to give him fits. So I think he has another great game.
Yeah, listen, Amon-Ra St. Brown has been just a target monster, and all year it was him and Laporta. But when you, as you said, you take kind of Laporta out now as more of a decoy. And last week, I didn't expect him to play. Give him credit for being out there and playing, but yeah, he wasn't so productive, and he was more just like, all right, let's occupy some of the defense and let I picked a Josh Reynolds prop last week in that cash, but Amon-Ra St. Brown obviously had a good game too. So yeah, he's the guy, and the Bucks pass defense has been among the worst all season long. So definitely like this one. And even if they're playing with a lead, as you said, the Lions have been giving up points. Like this could turn into a sneaky shootout where the Lions just have to keep throwing it, keep going. So that just helps St. Brown for sure. All right, the last game for Sunday night is the Chiefs-Bills. I think the best game of the weekend. Chiefs on the road in the playoffs. Got to prove it now at Buffalo. 2.5 is the spread. 3 at some places for the Bills is the favorites. 45.5 is the over/under. I gotta say, I'll probably be going with the Chiefs here as the underdogs. I'll probably grab them on the money line too, just of their proven record. But like Mahomes and the Chiefs as underdogs has been very profitable ever since he's been there. And you like a pick for the Chiefs here, which I think this can help them get this win on the road.
I do. And this weather, we talked about it a little bit before the show started about my Najee Harris prop just completely crashing my parlay because the weather wasn't as bad as we expected it to be. But this week, I think it's going to be pretty similar to what we saw. Very cold, maybe not as much snow in the area, but still some wind, still some things affecting. And the Bills are the only team with a cold weather stadium that don't have a heating system on their field, which makes it very difficult when you land, when you have receivers, when you're trying to catch the ball. I don't know if y'all caught the New Heights podcast, but with Travis Kelce talking, he had cuts all over his hands, and that was with a heated field. So I don't think they're going to pass as much as we saw them pass in Arrowhead, and that's why I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco over 62.5 rushing yards at minus 115. He's had 89, 130, and 110 rushing yards over the last 3 games that he was fully healthy. Buffalo's also allowing an average of 81.9 rushing yards per game. And again, this is going to be another cold weather game where they may not be as effective at throwing the football. And with Pacheco getting a 72.4% opportunity share, I really think that he's going to have plenty of chances to hit this mark. And again, it comes down to that chess, not checkers thing, right? Where they're going to try to keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. The time of possession is really going to matter. And how do you control time of possession? With your running game. And that's why I think Pacheco crushes here.
Love this pick, Britt, because I rolled with Pacheco's props last week in the cold weather game kind of atmosphere, and we're going to have that again. And tell me who wants to tackle the hard running Pacheco in cold weather right now.
He acts mad at the ground. And how many angry runs trophies has he won this season? Like, this guy does not care. He will lay you flat.
Yeah. And this Chiefs offense, because they've had so many of the drops issues and their pass catching, and outside of Kelce, they don't have a lot of reliable targets from Mahomes. There's been a lot of Pacheco, as you laid out, like his rushing yards, his carries have really taken an uptick in this last part of the season before the playoffs, and then now into the playoffs. So I love this bet right now, 62.5. I expect this to go up too. So if you can get this right now, I think he's in line for at least 70, 80 yards in this game again. Britt, awesome stuff. Again, you can check out Britt on Twitter at Britt_Flinn. And then you have some sleeper picks articles coming up at Fantasy Alarm for Saturday and Sunday's games. So keep an eye out for those. Mondays, usually without any weather issues, you will be on Britt's Blitz on Mondays on Fantasy Alarm and Bettor Sports Network. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But Britt, thanks for joining here, and hopefully you stay warm and stay safe there.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It is going to warm up to the mid 40s, so it's going to feel like we're having a heat wave in a couple days. So I should be good after this snap breaks. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Britt, thanks so much. So that's some NFL. And again, go check out Britt on Twitter or her articles, her videos on Fantasy Alarm and Bettor Sports Network, as she's been doing all NFL season, all season long. It's been awesome stuff from her for us at Fantasy Alarm. All right, let's flip the script now. Talk some NBA with my guy, Justin Fensterman. You can follow him on Twitter at Fensty Sports if you haven't already. He is fantasy gurus, NBA expert, NBA analyst, lead NBA analyst, also oldies DJ on the side there, spinning the hits for us on the show today, though. What's up, Fensty?
What's going on, Servo? How's everything, man?
Everything's great, man. I got you on my screen now. Like, I've been waiting for this. I'm not trying to overdo you, but we love bringing you in for NBA talk on this show.
I appreciate it, Servo. There was a time when you actually called me a clown, and you weren't kidding about it. So it's great that I've upgraded finally after all these years.
Well, is clown in an endearing way?
Yes,
it's not making fun of you or anything. It's not like clown question, bro, like Bryce Harper. But
Servo, some of my best times over the last decade have been in a radio studio with you, my man. So it's always great to talk sports with you.
Right back at you, man. Gotta talk NBA with you for tonight. Just a quick note. I know you were all ready to talk some Warriors Jazz, but we had that game postponed, right, for tonight with the health situation of the assistant coach.
Yep, with that, no more game. And it was very interesting to begin with because, I mean, and we were hoping that everything goes okay, recovery and all, and just shows that there are things that are bigger. We saw it with DeMar Hamlin last year. Shows that there are some things that are bigger than the sports matchups themselves. So it was a good decision. And also what we were seeing was that FanDuel and DraftKings had a differentiation when it came to this game. DraftKings included them on their DFS slate. FanDuel did not. So now we're back to even Stevens with that. But yeah, man, I mean, against the Jazz, even though they mess with their lineups, they don't lose at home. They've been very impressive. But at the same time, I thought tonight was going to be a big Stephen Curry night, especially on the assist front, low line for his assists. But we'll have to just save up for the makeup date for that game.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think that's been announced yet, right? If that game will be made up or when. So
it will be. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. All right. For tonight, before we get to some specific bets, I wanted to ask you just about your, NBA betting strategies or, teams that you're definitely looking to target lately, players you're looking to fade or target, just kind of how you approach betting on the NBA on a, daily basis.
Well, really, I start to look at pace. It's kind of like the research we do for DFS. I want to see which of these teams are in mega pace up spots because pace gives you possessions. And with that, more opportunity, especially if I'm doing a scoring prop for a point guard or even their assists or a points plus assists as well. So I look for the pace. And yes, I do dive into the DVP and also looking at previous matchups. But you all have to remember that when you do that, you have to know who was actually in the opposing lineup and who wasn't for that game. Those numbers could be outliers. So that's also part of that research too. So I don't look in season-long increments anymore, Servo. I look in the last month, and then I look in the last few weeks as well. The sample size this time of year tends to be a little bit smaller and more microscopic to find your angles and your edges. So with some of the bets that we'll talk about for tonight's games, you'll see why when I look at stats from the last even week or two when it comes to the NBA.
All right, we got to put a pin in that real quick because Britt Flinn, who was just on the show, is breaking news to us, and I am pulling this up right now. We have breaking news in the NBA. Pascal Siakam has been traded to the Indiana Pacers. This has been maybe in the wind for a few days here, a couple of months when we thought maybe Siakam would be traded, but he's going to the Pacers. Your instant reaction is because here are the deals, by the way. Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, he is saying that the Pacers are acquiring Pascal Siakam, sending Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks to the Raptors. New Orleans is the third team in the deal, putting Kyra Lewis to the Raptors as well. But Siakam to the Pacers. What's your kind of instant reaction on the spot here? This is crazy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he helps them out defensively because that's the big thing with the Pacers. They've got guys that can score, but the fact of the matter is they don't have players that can turn away the opposition. And that's where I'm wondering if this Siakam addition, which, by the way, for this Pacers team, can you expect any more offense from a team that shoots 50%? This just bolsters them even more. So the big question is if it helps them defensively. I think you're getting a big body. It helps them because Obi Toppin can't defend. So it's an automatic upgrade. But I'm not all of a sudden thinking, oh, my goodness, this is your next big 3 in the making with Siakam, Miles Turner, and Tyrese Halliburton. It's nothing like that. And they didn't have to give up a lot of their youth, which was also crucial. I thought maybe that they'd have to give up someone like a Mathurin or someone like that. They didn't have to, though, or a Nembhard. They didn't have to. So it just shows, Servo, in today's NBA, draft capital is king.
Yeah, 3 first-round picks. And obviously, if the Pacers intend to be good over the next, 5 years or whatever, then they obviously don't intend to use, those first-round picks on quality pieces. So, and obviously the Raptors now are, in tank mode for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't really going anywhere, but now I'm very interested to see what they do because, I mean, they've traded a decent amount of their size. They've traded OG Anunoby. They've traded Precious Achiuwa. Now they've just traded Pascal Siakam. So now what are they going to do at power forward? Because what they got in the Knicks deal were guards. Here's swingmen. So I'm wondering if now we're going to see Scotty Barnes start to rebound again, because you were asking me, Servo, on betting strategies before. Earlier in the year, Scotty Barnes was a cash machine when it came to his PRAs because of how much time he would spend on the ball. And now he's lost some of that real estate after they acquired Quickly and Barrett from the Knicks, and they lost some steam when it came to the rebounding. Now you put this guy back in the post, those rebounding numbers should start to rise. And when it comes to the Pacers, by the way, this is just going to create very interesting when it comes to props, because I think Miles Turner's scoring is going to start to go down a bit. I don't think Pascal Siakam, especially with all he can do on offense, is going to play any kind of second fiddle to Miles Turner. So to me, his role remains the same.
Okay. Well, if you're looking to bet tonight, so the Pacers are off tonight, but the Raptors are playing at home against the Heat. So we'll see. Obviously, that spread and everything will probably
normally I'd say Scotty Barnes to the moon, Servo, but now Jimmy Butler's going to be on him all night, so it's not going to be easy.
So yeah, but either way, probably taking the Heat now if you're looking at some some spreads or whatever. All right. Tonight, though, I know you got some bets though that you already are locking in and prepared for. So. Bucks Cavaliers is the big game tonight. ESPN nationally televised game. Obviously, two of the top teams in the East. What do you like in this one?
From the Cavs side, I like Donovan Mitchell, what they've been doing, Cleveland, because Darius Garland is still out, and Evan Mobley for that matter. They've been having Mitchell run the point, which I think has been phenomenal. It's also helped them out defensively as well. Cleveland's been very good at turning away opposing guards. So when looking at Donovan Mitchell, his point prop, yes, it's a little bit high at 32.5. He hit 34 the last time he was in this matchup. We should see him once again take a high volume of shots. He's been shooting very well. The pace essentially favors Cleveland in this game. So I think ultimately the shot floor is going to be very, very high for Donovan Mitchell. And this spread in this game is only 4. So obviously the books are thinking that Cleveland's going to be able to keep this close. And there are 2 guys that have to come through for Cleveland if this game is going to stay close, obviously one being Mitchell.
Yeah, in Cleveland, the home underdogs in this with the Milwaukee favorite on the road. So, yeah, that home boost obviously going to Mitchell as well for the Cavs. You think the Cavs can cover or pull out this win against the Bucks?
I think it's definitely possible. I don't think it's likely. I was actually looking maybe to bet the other way on that one, but again, a lot of big ifs here. And here's your second if. Jared Allen needs to do what Jared Allen did last game, and that's score 30 points. He's going to have to come through big again. Brook Lopez hasn't been the same guy defensively, and you can get to Milwaukee when it comes to the scoring. Now, why Allen hasn't been fed more shots over the last few games is very confusing. I think that changes tonight. Normally, this prop would be coming in at about 19.5, but because he hasn't been getting as many shots, it's pulled back a little bit. So I'm enticed against the pace-up spot for him. Yeah. He's done it before. They should design more plays for him in that post. So I'm feeling good about Jared Allen over 16.5 points. There's a lot of directions you could go with Jared Allen tonight. For me, I think the points are the safest bets. But even rebounds and assists aren't bad either.
Yeah. All right. So Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell in that Cavs-Bucks game. The other game you have your eye on tonight is Timberwolves on the road at the Pistons. What do you like in this one?
So here's the interesting thing, because they were not releasing the props. I think part of it was because of Anthony Edwards' status being still up in the air. But I'm viewing this and how I'm handling this game for now like he's playing. So Rudy Gobert, he's been someone that has been a thorn in my side. It's been very hard to figure this guy out. But for the last few games, he's been scoring. Jalen Duren isn't a good defender. So I know it's an 11.5 point spread right now. So there could be a possible blowout. But even if Gobert can play 30 to 32 minutes in this game, hell, you play him 28 to 30, I think he could go over the 13.5 points that we're seeing. And I saw it on FanDuel right when it came out. I was waiting on Towns as well to see where he was at, but everything grades out that Gobert should have an easier time scoring. Thought about his points, rebounds as well. But again, Think the points are safer. Doesn't need a lot of minutes to be able to get inside. Foul trouble has been very tough for both of these guys. However, for Gobert over the last 2 weeks, he's kept it under control. So I'm willing to bet on it.
Yeah, and I guess leaning on Edwards probably being out, as you said.
We'll have to see. It's right now very up in the air and questionable. Okay. So, but I'm making this bet like he's going to play, and it shouldn't matter. And we know if Edwards is out, it's going to be a lot more Karl Anthony Towns. So what's good about that Servo is you put Towns more at the elbow, meaning that the paint is all Gobert's without much Towns interference unless he has the open lane, which I like even more. But again, questionable. I don't want to bet like he's going to be out and all of a sudden he's ruled in. We had Kyle freaking Lowry the other night, doubtful, and then he ended up playing.
That's just the world of injuries in the NBA.
You can never be too sure. And as one of our co-producers said back in the day, no one is safe.
No one. I think it was earlier this year, maybe last week. We had James Grande in the show. He was giving out a bet for Chris Middleton, knowing that there was a chance that he could be out. Like, he was going to play, but they might just play him in the first quarter and then sit him the rest of the game to get over that, resting your stars kind of thing.
Right.
And that ended up happening. He played the first quarter, didn't come in the rest of the game.
Dude, it's been bad lately. I mean, we saw the Nets get fined and do what they did a few weeks ago. Then we saw the Celtics really just bench all of their starters. It's bad. And these are just things we can't control. That's why betting the NBA, to me, in my opinion, is the hardest sport to bet, because there's just so much variance, and you don't know, even when you think one of your players, your second unit players, are in an advantageous spot, teams getting crushed by 25 entering the third quarter, they could be played 2 minutes and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. The blowout factor, because we've seen a lot of blowouts in the NBA. So it's just like that factor coming in, you could just all of a sudden a team's best player is like, all right, he's not going to play the rest of the fourth quarter.
Right. And then you see things like Boston and Detroit going to overtime randomly. It's so hard to control it, man. I mean, there's a 16-point spread tonight that with Boston and San Antonio that obviously we have to be careful of, because San Antonio is just awful. Boston might be your champion. But when it comes to some of these other games that are in the 8s and 9s, I'm still trying to dive into them a little bit. And like tonight with the Minnesota bet, double-digit spread, but if I can see someone like a Gobert being able to score 14 points in 28 minutes, I'm expecting 28 minutes. And if I get 32 to 35, if it's a close game, that's just an added bonus.
Yeah. Any other bets, props that you have your eye on for tonight?
So one that actually just came out was in the Miami Heat game. I'm looking at Tyler Hero potentially on his points prop as well. It's been kind of toggling between 22 and 23. I wouldn't go too crazy on this, but seeing him still be able to get the shot volume he did with Jimmy Butler fully back convinces me that he should be able to take advantage of the Toronto Raptors. RJ Barrett isn't a good defender, and the Raptors over the last month have led up the second most points production per game to shooting guards, and that's going to be crucial here. He's been shooting well and reliable. 22.5 for a guy who's a shooter who's, even in a slow-paced game, going to get the volume, I don't think is a bad line for him.
Okay. In that game, by the way, you mentioned maybe Scotty Barnes, but with this Pascal Siakam trade, who do you think kind of benefits the most if you're looking at a prop?
I mean, you're going to be looking at guys like, if anything, Thad Young, Jonte Porter are going to be playing a lot more, Chris Boucher. But if you're going to look at anyone, I feel like you got to look at the midcourt players now. You're forced to look at Barnes. Okay, you want to think he's going to be on Butler. Maybe RJ Barrett's the guy now. RJ Barrett, maybe he's going to be able to get his shots. He hasn't had too many of those 2-for-9 games that we're used to seeing him have when he was on the Knicks. I think he had maybe just one since the trade to Toronto. So for me, I'm now looking at RJ Barrett, and I know what the books are going to do. They're going to really hike up that point prop tonight if they haven't already.
I'm looking at it right now, BetMGM, it's 21.5.
Yeah, see, exactly. They don't know love. They want to pass the salt. For me, I would be, if you hadn't told me, I would have prayed that would be at 17.5, 18.5. And he can still get there and stuff too. He's not going to draw Jimmy Butler. They have to put Butler on Scotty Barnes. They're stupid. Spoelstra's stupid if he doesn't do that.
Well, Scotty Barnes, his prop is at 20 and a half points. So maybe you'll get the under on that one.
We'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see what
But
Jimmy Butler can do.
We know the shots will be there for those guys.
Yes.
Awesome stuff, man. We're gonna let you go because I know you're a busy guy with the NBA.
Man, next time you bring me on, maybe Embiid will be traded or something like that.
Oh, don't say that. Come on. After a big win last night, come on, man.
I love Embiid. You talk about a cash machine, man. That points rebounds prop when it was sitting there at 44.5 night after night, matchup proof. Oh, coming through all the time, man. And then unfortunately he's missed some time recently and just came back.
Yeah, he's missed a bunch of games now, and I think he's like barely on the edge of being eligible.
He is. You're seeing his odds start to go down a bit for the MVP. Like SGA's ahead of him now. I think he's fourth, which look, if you take the game requirement out of it, I mean, this guy's a certified MVP.
Yeah, the game requirement, it's like I expect him to miss probably like 5 more games this year, you know?
You know what, though? At the end of the day, if you can have him win another MVP or you preserve him a little bit more so you can go to the finals, you want to go to the finals.
I mean, yeah, and I love Tyrese Maxey. That guy has been I as soon as Harden got traded, I knew that Maxey would be a dude. You know, he would step up.
You've got Maxey. What about Kelly Oubre? The guy gets hit by a freaking car, and less than a month later, he's back and playing. It's very, very strange. It's wild, and it's a great story seeing him back and playing again. He completely got nailed by a car.
Yeah, it's an awesome story. I mean, the guy literally got hit by a car.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fancy, awesome stuff, man. Again, if you haven't followed him on Twitter already at Fancy Sports, check him out on Fantasy Guru. He is their lead NBA analyst. I see you jumping on with Kyle and Ray left and right on their show, talking some hoops.
They haven't gotten sick of me yet, Servo.
Not yet. I haven't either, man. I haven't either.
I appreciate you, man.
But everyone, yeah, check him out. Even though he's not with us at Fantasy Alarm, he is killing it in the NBA world. So we love seeing that, and we'll definitely bring you on here with the NBA just in full swing now, and we'll see if we get any other trades. Hopefully not Embiid though.
Yes, that's true. We'll see, man. But dude, thank you so much again for having me. It's great being back on with you.
All right, see you, Fensty. So that's some NBA for Wednesday night. Again, Pascal Siakam traded to the Indiana Pacers. If you just missed that news, the Pacers are off tonight, but the Raptors are at home against the Heat. We were just talking about some bets and props with that game with Fensty. Rewind a little bit, by the way, if you wanted some NFL divisional talk with Britt Flinn. We broke down all the games and her best bets for all those as well. Wanted to quickly throw out some of my college basketball bets for tonight because listen, I threw out some picks yesterday on the show and these past few days. I'm on a little heater here, honestly. Not to like toot my own horn, but I think I'm seeing the board pretty well. I tweet out picks every day. If I don't break them down here, by the way, I tweet them out, and yesterday's went 4-2. So I'll take that. But tonight, I got 3 I'll throw out here. One is the Virginia Cavaliers at home against Virginia Tech. Rivalry game, in-state rivalry here, Tech versus UVA. And I'm going Virginia minus the 4.5 on the spread here at BetMGM. UVA's in a tough spot. They're in a really tough stretch here because they're coming off back-to-back losses to NC State and Wake Forest. They've lost 4 of the last 6 games. But I just think this is a get-right spot for them going back home now because these past 4 losses in this past month or so, they've all come on the road. And UVA's 5 losses this year, they're 11-5. All 5 losses have either been on the road or on a neutral court. They've been very much a different and better team at home. And I just think going back home now, this is a good rebound spot. Welcoming in a Virginia Tech team that's been on a slide of their own lately. They've lost 3 of their last 4. And they've struggled on the road. They've not played well on the road this year. And Virginia Tech's offense, the key spot here is that their offense is just kind of like unsustainable because they have Sean Padula is in like a very high usage role where he's taking a ton of shots. He is their offense right now, and he's been on fire, but it's just not sustainable. And if he has like a down game, their secondary guys are just not doing a ton right now. So I think Virginia, which has a top 20 defense in the country still, despite their kind of poor record over the past month here, they still have a top 20 defense, and it kind of like it amplifies even more at home. When UVA is at home, they just get teams very frustrated defensively on their part. So I think they're going to put the clamps on Virginia Tech here. You can see the low total at 125.5, but I don't see Virginia Tech scoring more than 60 in this game. Obviously, I could be wrong, but I think it's like a lot of Virginia just controlling this game. So going back in this history, by the way, the rivalry, UVA has won and covered 4 straight games against Virginia Tech. So I like them here. We got a pick in the chat here. M. Rojas likes Texas Tech on the spread versus Houston, plus the 13. I'll be honest. I like Houston in this game. I see Houston. They're coming off 2 losses in Big 12 play. They've both been on the road, though. So they're one of those teams. We've seen it with BYU. We've seen it with Cincinnati. We've seen it with Houston. Some of these new teams of the Big 12, just it's growing pains going on the road in Big 12 play, and they've suffered some losses. But I do think Houston bounces back in a big way here and just really, now they're at home. I feel like I think the spread is big for a reason. I know Texas Tech has been better over this past month here, and you don't think they might deserve to be double-digit underdogs, but I think there's a reason the spread is big. So my lean is to Houston on that one, honestly. But with the way Houston has lost these last 2 games, I get why you might want to go Tech, but I just think this is just a good bounce back, get right spot again for Houston, kind of like Virginia. Another pick I'll throw out here, Arizona, another big spread, but I think it's big for a reason. Give me Arizona to win. I think this game isn't going to be close. USC is in a tough spot right now. So they just lost recently Isaiah Collier, a likely lottery pick in the NBA. He's out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, maybe out for the rest of the year. He was their best player. Boogie Ellis, their second or best player in some people's eyes. He was out last game. I think he's doubtful for tonight. I don't really expect him to play. I think it's kind of a quick turnaround for him to return from his injury. They're down. If they're down 2 of their best players, it's a really tough ask because USC wasn't great with them. Honestly, they were losing a lot of games. Kind of a disappointment this year. But both those guys being out, their offense is a huge, huge question mark. And I know they have Bronny James at USC, but he's honestly struggled since joining USC. He has not really performed. I think he's been held scoreless in the last 2 games. Even last game he started with Collier and Boogie Ellis out, but he was held scoreless. He was not their best player. He is really, I don't want to say overrated because he still has a ton of talent, but he's not like. You see the name Bronny James. He's not this true, huge difference maker right now. And he's still a guy that's recovering from his heart condition that he had in the offseason where he collapsed. And I think he's still trying to get his, confidence of playmaking back. And he's definitely a guy that's, freshman year. He's going through some growing pains for sure, just trying to get used to the higher level of talent and athleticism that he's facing. And teams are – you have the name Bronny James and you got a target on your back. And I think he's kind of just struggled to really, take on that mantle. And now that these guys are out, he's in a bigger role, and USC just kind of a disappointment. But I'm looking at Arizona. I would be looking at them anyway, no matter who they were playing, honestly, because Arizona's coming off a loss to Washington State, which was a close one on the road on Saturday. But Arizona, after a loss under Tommy Lloyd, has just been very profitable. This year, after a loss, they're 3-0 against the spread with 13, 19, and 47-point wins. Last year, they're 6-0 straight up and 4-2 against the spread after a win with an average margin of victory of 14 points per game. 5 of those 6 were double-digit wins, some of them huge blowout wins. This team responds. Tommy Lloyd gets his team ready to go after a loss. And now this one is, at home, welcoming in USC, which is kind of down bad right now, a struggling team. I just think Arizona is going to crush here. USC is a team that, just lost by 10 to Colorado. They lost by 8 to Washington State the game before. Arizona is just a clear tier above both those teams right now. And I think Arizona creams it. They're 8-1 against the spread as double-digit favorites this year, and a perfect 8-0 against the spread at home. So even though it's a big spread, I just think this is going to be, obviously 20, 25-point win for Arizona at home. Last pick I'll throw out here. I like the over in Creighton UConn. This is going to be an awesome game to watch. And I think Creighton's pretty live to keep this close, cover the spread, and maybe win outright. But I do think this is going over. I'm grabbing the over on this because even though both teams, they both play at a slower pace overall, but I just expect efficient offense on both ends. For Creighton, Ryan Kalkbrenner has come on strong for them. They're stud center, and I think that's an issue for UConn tonight because Donovan Clingan expected out one more game here. They're really good center, and without him in the interior defense there, I think UConn's going to have a tough time matching up with Kalkbrenner and how good he is around the rim. Creighton shoots a lot of threes too. Like, this is a team that loves to shoot threes and makes a lot of them. But they also use Kalkbrenner down low. They have a really good high-low game with him. And I just think UConn's defense has taken a step back with Donovan Clingan out. And, until he returns, especially on the interior, but just overall their defensive efficiency has not been at the same level. In addition, with him out, UConn's playing a little bit faster. They've been able to get down the floor faster without him. They're without his scoring ability inside. They're shooting more threes. This is a team that's, kind of by necessity, they have to be more guard and perimeter oriented offense. In the last 4 games, kind of in conjunction with all this, with their defense being a step back, their offense playing a little bit faster and shooting more threes and all that. UConn's games are 4-0 to the over in their last 4 games. So I think this game is going to be kind of a sneaky over because these are 2 slower paced teams, 2 good defensive teams overall. But I just think this could be, just a game that's maybe played just a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficient on offense than what you might think. So grabbing the over in this Creighton UConn game should be, I think, the best game of tonight if you want to watch that. So those are some college picks. And again, if you missed any of it, some NFL with Britt, Flinn, go rewind, watch that. NBA with Justin Fensterman as well. So been a full show here. Coming up 5 p.m. Eastern, NBA DFS Live with John and Pemba and James Grande, as they do every day. And then tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, here again on Bettor Sports Betting. We'll be covering a little bit of NHL, some college basketball, some NBA, a little bit of everything on tomorrow's show with sports going on, a nightly basis now. And then Friday, if you want some my bets and Howard Bender's bets for this NFL divisional round, we will be giving those out on Friday's show. So tune back in then. But for tonight, good luck with all your own bets, and appreciate everyone tuning in on this Wednesday afternoon, and take care.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.